Hey, what's up, y'all? Adam bringing you another yoga video today. This time we're going to be focusing on hips. So grab your mat. We'll start into a child's pose. So come to the back of the mat. You can bring the knees wide, toes together, sit the hips on the heels, and then reach the arms forward. Or you can bring the arms forward and then let the hips rest back towards your heels. No right or wrong, just feeling it out. And so being our hip focus practice today, starting in child pose, a nice little hip opener. So in your child's pose, you can start to rock side to side, finding a little movement into the hips. And start to put some focus onto your breath. Deep breath in. Exhale. Now if you're moving, pause here in center. Walk the fingers, so just finger walk the fingers and arms forward a little bit. The hips might come off the heels just slightly as we get some traction into the spine. Press the fingertips into the mat, and then slowly keep the length in the spine. Let your hips draw back towards your heels. That nice traction there. We'll do that one more time. Walk the fingers forward, get some length in the spine. Maybe the hips come off the heels. Pressing fingertips into the mat, slowly let the hips be heavy again and draw the hips back towards your heels. Beautiful. Next inhale, let's come up to all fours, finding our neutral spine. A little warming up of the body, a little inventory check, see how things are moving. So rocking side to side at first. Feel the shoulders and the hips, the hands, maybe making some circles. And circle in the opposite direction. All right, now coming back to center. Bring the knees together. Extend the left leg long behind you. Point the left toes towards the ground. And then release that left foot all the way to the ground. Ball the foot. That left foot is in the mat. And press back through the left heel. Awakening up through that left hamstring, left calf. Nice. Keep the pressure pressing back into the heel. And now start to put some pressure into the hands. Engage your core. Press into your thumbs. Keeping the pressure back with the heel into the hands. We'll gently lift that right knee into the chest. Now keeping all that pressure moving back, all that pressure moving down. Squeeze your knee in towards your chest. And on the inhale, slowly lengthen the right leg, three-legged dog. Try to get some length in the body, lengthen the arms and the spine. Push the right hip down so we're square through the hips. And now keeping your right leg as long as you can, as straight as you can. Start to open up and stack the hips, moving into a half scorpion variation. Keep the right shoulder pressing down. And then maybe keeping the right leg long or bending the right knee. And then from here you can start to make some big circles with the knee, waking up the hip. Find some movement. Try to keep the right shoulder pressing down. And then back to center, square the hips on the inhale. Exhale, slowly bring a knee into nose. Come forward on the back toes, flex the right foot, and then step the right foot by the right thumb, drop the back knee. Frame the foot with the hands. The back toes are untucked. So we're in our crescent lunge for our crescent moon variation with the hands on the mat. And start to find some movement here in the hips. A little rocking side to side. All right, now pause the movement. Pull the right heel back so we start to feel that right hip engage and push back. And then pressing to the top of your back foot, engage your left glute and feel your left hip pull forward. Fingertips are on the mat. Now with all that traction in the hips, right hip back, left hip forward, we're going to lift the chest and find this version of a cow pose. So opening up through that left hip flexor. Push the left hip down, draw the shoulder blades down your back, lift the chest. Nice. Now keep the openness in the hip flexor, let the gaze come back to the mat. Now option to add intensity to this left hip flexor. So you can keep the back toes untucked, so your back toes are going to be on the mat, or you can curl the back toes under and press into the ball of the foot. All right? Either way, we're going to lift the back knee off the mat. My back toes are untucked, so the top of my foot is on the mat. And then with the fingers framing this right foot, we're going to come back into that cow pose. Engage your left glute, drop the hips, lift the chest. Lots of openness in this left hip flexor. We're getting right into it today. Keep the chest moving forward. Keep the left knee moving down, but not touching the mat. Just one more breath here. Keep all this openness as we lower that left knee to the ground. Gentle twists, left hand down, right arm high. So we're still opening up through that left hip flexor, creating a lot of tension. Engage your right shoulder to pull the chest open. Take one more breath. And on the exhale, right hand comes down to the mat. And now we sit back in our half splits and release all that openness we just created in your left hip flexor. So for my half splits, I like to sit off my back heel. Gives me a little bit more movement into the hips, into the hamstrings, so you can sway the hips side to side. If you want to add a little hand variation to help with your hip movement, keep your right hand by your right heel. Left hand comes back by your left knee and point the left fingers back. And then we'll pull forward with the left fingers and pull back with the right fingers. So helping our hips move in the direction that we want them to. Lengthen the torso on the inhale, fold, exhale, one more breath. And left hand comes back up by the right foot. Inhale, we're going to step all the way forward, cross your left ankle behind your right, match up the knife edges of the feet. Keep your knees bent as long as you need to and start to sway the hips. So taking some time to work into our hips. Hands on the mat. Remember, the knees can be as bent as you need to. And then think about starting to straighten that back left knee as much as you can. So as much as feels good for you. Pressing through the balls of the feet to stabilize your base. We're going to walk our hands just off to the right side of the mat. And the fingers are pressing off to the right. Now we're going to push our left hip back. Roll that left hip back. So start to wake up that left hamstring. Keeping pressure into the fingertips. Roll your left hip back. One more breath. And then walk the hands back to center. Uncross feet. Feet side by side. Hands come to the shins, big halfway lift. Take a couple breaths here. Get some length into the spine. Draw the collarbones down. Take a breath. And on the exhale, forward fold. Soft bend of the knees. Inhale, circle sweep the arms high. Touch the palms. We'll take a gentle back bend on the exhale. Squeezing the shoulder blades, pressing the hips forward. Lift through the chest. And change as we rise up on the inhale. Palms meet above the head, soften the knees, forward fold, exhale. Now on this halfway lift, we're going to lift our left knee into the chest, one-legged halfway lift. And on the exhale, step your left leg back. Hands to the mat. Long, low lunge, left knee off the mat. Find that little playfulness if you want. All right, now re-engage through the lower body. Pull that right heel back. Press into the ball of your back foot. And slowly pressing into your base, lift up to your crescent lunge. So we created a lot of openness in this left side. Now we're going to create some integrity back into it. So maybe not as deep as you normally get into your crescent lunge. Maybe a little bend to the back knee to really push the ball of the foot and engage through the hips. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Sink deep. Press into the heel. Pull that back hip forward. Take 1 more breath. On the exhale, hands come down to the mat. Step back into your high plank. Navel into spine. Maybe a little rocking sensation. Take a deep breath in. And then we'll downward dog on the exhale. Press it back. Walk it out. Let's find that reset. And then inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Lower the elbows, turbo dog. The elbows about 1 inch off the mat, knees about the same. Gaze can shift forward. And then press the tailbone up and back. Feel that flare through the sits bones. Lower the elbows. Just 1 inch off the mat. Squeeze the fingertips. Take 1 more breath. And then slowly lower everything. Elbows and knees to the ground. And then back into our hands and knees. Rock it side to side. All right, back to center. Draw the knees together. Right leg extends behind us first. Engage the glute, point the toes down, and then release that right leg down to the mat. Ball the right foot's pressing into the mat, and we start to press that right heel back. So starting with that one direction, just pressing back through the right heel. Nice, now keeping that right heel pressing back, press into the hands, and start to engage the shoulders. Feel the navel pull into the spine. Strong into your core, strong into your hands. Right heel still pressing back. And then we draw left knee into the chest. Slowly lifting. Coming forward onto the toes. Press into your hands. Take another breath. On the inhale, left leg lifts high. Keep that left leg long, press through the hands. Try to get your spine as long as you can. And then keeping the left leg straight, we're going to bend and open up. Keep the left leg straight, just stacking hips at first. Press through the heel of that left foot. And then if you want to bend, opening up into your half scorpion variation, bend the left knee. Try to keep your left shoulder still pressing down. And if you took some circles with the big knee on the other side, make some circles here. All right, back to center. Square the hips, lengthen left leg on the inhale. And exhale, knee draws in towards the nose, coming forward. And we'll do one more time. Inhale, lengthen that left leg long. Exhale, knee to nose. Left toes flex. Left foot steps by left hand. Untuck the back toes. Hands stay on the mat for this Crescent Moon variation. And we'll start to play around, wagging the tail. Nice. Find that little playful movement. All right, then pause at center. Start to pull your left heel back. And then pressing into the top of your right foot, press your right hip down and forward. So really opening up that right hip flexor this time on the other side. Now digging your fingers into the mat. Keep that traction moving down with the right hip. And then lift the chest, finding our cow pose variation. So really getting into that right hip. Engage your right glute to help push that right hip down. One more breath. And then slowly shift the gaze down. Plant the hands on the mat, or you can stay up on the fingertips. Then we're going to move into that big hip flexor opener. All right, so your toes can be untucked, top of the foot pressing into the mat, or tuck the back toes. But we're going to lift the right knee off the mat. And then finding our way back into that cow pose variation. Lift the chest, drop that right hip, keep the right glute engaged. Lots of openness here. Nice, keep the chest moving forward. Keep that right knee just hovering off the mat. Take one more breath, lift the chest. Then slowly let that right knee come down. Gentle twist, right hand plants, left arm lifts. So still working into that openness in the right hip. Engage your left shoulder to open the chest. Lift on the inhale. And exhale, left hand comes down. And then we sit back into our half splits, releasing all that built up pressure we created on the right side. So take a couple breaths here. And if you like that hand variation on the other side, left hand stays by left heel, right hand walks back by our right knee, turn the right fingers back towards the back of the mat. And then pull forward with the right hand, pull back with the left hand, feel that moving sensation in the hips. Nice, couple more breaths. And then the other hand variation, let's bring our hands forward. And on the next inhale, bend the left knee. Step all the way forward, right ankle crosses behind the left, matching up knife edges of the feet. Knees bent as they need to be, hands to the mat as we sway our hips. Feel that rocking sensation, transferring weight to our feet in an unnatural way. All right, now start to pause with your movement. Try to get your back leg as straight as you can, not forcing it, but just adding a little bit of pressure back with that right leg. Hands are walking forward and then off to our left. And then we push into that right hip, rounding it back. Nice, couple more breaths here. Feel that big opening in the hamstring, maybe into your IT band. And then fingers back to center. Uncross the feet. Big toes are touching this time. Halfway lift, just one breath on the inhale. Full exhale. Soft bend the knees. Inhale, sweep the arms high. Palms touch. We'll take our back bend on the exhale. Squeeze to the shoulder blades. Lift the chest. Keep the toes light. And then rise on the inhale. Folding down, exhale. Now on our halfway lift, we lift the right knee into the chest. Take our one-legged halfway lift. And on the exhale, extend the right leg back. Hands can stay on the mat. Long, low lunge. Right and toes on the mat. Right knee lifted. Find the little playfulness in your hips. And then left heel pulls back. Engage right glute. And we lift into our crescent lunge. Feel that integrity back into your base. Maybe that bent back knee to help press into the back heel. Engage the right glute. Feel the base. Strong in your arms. Take one more breath. And on the exhale, hands down to the mat. High plank. Press back, hold your planks. Option to move through a Chaturanga from here. You can lower the knees or drop down. Upward dog, inhale. Downward dog on the exhale. Nice job. Inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Exhale, step, hop, or jump to the front. Landing feet between the hands. Half lift, inhale. Fold, exhale. Inhale, circle sweep the arms high. Hands draw to heart center on the exhale. And then hands come to the hips. Right foot stays forward, left foot takes a little step back. And setting up for a pyramid pose. So stabilize through your hips. Right knee can be as bent as you need it to be. But on the inhale, start to hinge the body forward, pull the hips back. And as we exhale, hands come down to the mat, moving into our pyramid pose. So getting back into this right hamstring, right hip. If you like that hand variation, right hand forward, left hand back to help with the hips, you can move there. We have 3 more breaths here. Keep the left hip pushing forward. All right, left hand starts to move forward. All 10 fingers on the mat. We're going to build our airplane from the ground up. So push some weight into the fingertips, start to lift your back leg. Engage to the core. Maybe this right knee starts to bend so we can engage our glute as we lift up into our Tadasana airplane pose. Nice, push your left hip down. Lift through the chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Inhale, engage your core. Inhale to stand all the way up. Left knee into your chest. Arms can lift above the head. Left ankle crosses over the right knee. We sit down into our figure 4 chair. Hands can come into heart center as you start to bend the right knee, sinking down deep. Hands can come to the body if you need support. If you have the depth, maybe the hands come down to the mat. You got 2 more breaths here. Just work it into that left hip. Find a little more depth. And then on the inhale, hands come back to heart center. We're going to stand all the way back up, left knee into the chest, one-legged Tadasana. And on your exhale, half moon. Right arm down, left arm up. Left leg extends back. Opening up, stacking the hips. Nice, find your strength here. Push through the back heel. Expand through the chest. Nice, start to bend the right knee. And then we'll land in our warrior 2. Take as much time as you need. Try not to use the hands. And then adjust your stance once you land. We don't always land perfect. Arms out wide. Settle into your base. Hands at heart center. Skandasana, straighten the front leg. Left knee starts to bend as we turn our left toes out and we sink down deep. Now the hands can come down to support the body. Hands can stay down or hands can come into heart center. Tuck your left shoulder into your left knee. Really focusing on this right hamstring. Couple more breaths here. And whatever variation you're in, hands come back down to the mat. We're going to move into a wide forward fold. Straighten in our left leg, coming to center. Toes turn in, hands to the mat. And find a little sway side to side. Maybe grabbing for the knife edges of the feet. I'm taking this nice hamstring opener. There's an inversion in your practice. If you're not there already, you're welcome to it. As we find a few more breaths here in this recovery. All right, inversions come back down. Whatever variation you're in, we're going to bring hands back underneath the face. Take a halfway lift on the inhale. Get some length back into our spine. Hands come out wide. Engage to the core. Next inhale, slowly rise. Hands come to heart center. Pivot on the heels. We're facing the back of the mat now. Left foot is forward. Right heel is back. And then we'll find that movement in the hips. Moving into our pyramid pose, facing the back of the room. Inhale, we lengthen forward, hands stay on the hips. And as soon as the hands can touch the ground, the hands can come down, supporting the body as we continue down into our pyramid pose. And if you like that hand variation we're playing with today, right hand walks back to about mid-thigh, right finger's pointing back, and then pulling forward with the right, pulling back with the left. 2 more breaths here. Move through the hips. Use the hands for help. And then both hands come forward. Pressing the fingertips in the mat. We're moving to that Tadasana, building from the ground up. So transfer the weight forward. Fingertips can stay on the mat as you lift your right leg. And then we engage the core, lift the chest, find our way into our Tadasana airplane pose. Push the right hip down, reach to the fingertips. Feel the collarbone spread open. Lots of core engagement. Right knee drives into the chest as we stand all the way up, one-legged Tadasana. Arms can frame the ears. Right ankle crosses over left knee. And we move into our half chair or our figure 4 chair. Hands in a heart. Hands to your body. Hands can come down to the mat. So whatever variation you went into on the other side, those same options are here. 3 more breaths. Really focusing on that right hip, pressing down, bending your left knee as much as able. And then we're going to slowly start to come back out of this. Hands in a heart as we stand up. Right knee into the chest. Find your stability. Take your breath. Half moon on the exhale. Left arm down, right arm high. And finding your Ardha Chandrasana variation. Open through the chest. Constant pressure through that back right heel. Take another inhale. Softening the front knee, slowly stepping down and back into your warrior 2. Stabilize your base. Arms open wide as you settle in. Gazing into the back of your mat. Right over those left fingers. Take 2 more breaths here. Sink deep. And then slowly straighten the front legs. Skandasana. Right toes turn out as we bend the right knee. Remembering the hands can come down to the mat for your support. Finding the variation that suits you best. You can use the other side as a barometer. Good place to start. And settling into your variation. 2 more breaths. All right, hands come to the mat, and we'll move into that wide-legged forward fold. Just into center. Turn the toes in, heels out, and find that gentle sway side to side. And if you're that inversion practice, go right ahead. Arm balance inversion, whatever is suiting you. Variations come back down. And we'll take our halfway lift again. Hands walk towards center. Lift the chest, lift the gaze, take your breath. Hold for the exhale. And then with the spine long, extend the arms. Engage your core. Inhale, stand all the way up. Hands come to your hips. Pivot to the front of the room. And we'll step forward. Feet together. Arms lift, inhale. Fold on the exhale. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Plant the hands, step or jump back. Move with your breath. Lowering down. Inhale, upward dog or low cobra. And downward dog on the exhale. Let's walk it out. All right, inhale, lift the heels. Bend the knees. Exhale, step, hop or jump to the front. Landing the feet between the hands. Halfway lift, inhale. Fold, exhale. All right, chair pose, Utkatasana. Arms up, hips down. So creating a lot of openness in the hips. We're going to get some conditioning back into our hips. So from our chair pose, left heel is heavy. Right knee starts to lift into the chest. One-legged Tadasana, lifting all the way up. Right knee into the chest. Take a breath. On the exhale, Tadasana, airplane pose. Right leg sweeps back. Lift the chest, drop the hip. Inhale, stand all the way back up. Right knee into the chest, both arms high. Pause here. Stable breath in. Exhale, right leg extends. Press through the heel. And then pull the hip back into your socket. Big breath in. Hold, exhale. Right knee into the chest. And chair pose. Sit back down. All right, second side, right heel heavy. Inhale, left knee lifts into the chest. Pausing here. Find your inhale. Tadasana, exhale. Leg sweeps back. Arms reach back with it. Lifting through the chest. Inhale, back to standing. Left knee into the chest, both arms high. Pause for the exhale. Find your stability. Take your breath. Exhale, extend left foot. Pull the hip back. Inhale, bend left knee. And exhale, sit it down. So one more set like that, one on each side. Moving more with our breath. So from your chair pose, inhale, right knee lifts into the chest. Exhale, extend back, Tadasana. Inhale, right knee lifts into the chest, arms high. Exhale, extend right foot forward. Inhale, right knee into the chest. And sit down, Utkatasana. 2 breaths. Inhale. Sink down on the exhale. Last side. Inhale, left knee into the chest. Exhale, Tadasana, airplane. Inhale, left knee into the chest. Exhale, extend left foot forward. Pull the hip back. Inhale, bend left knee. Exhale, chair pose. Sit down. Feel the strength in your base. Biceps back by the ears. Sink down a little bit deeper. Take a breath. And fold on the exhale. Nice job. Separate the feet hip distance apart. Hands can stay on the mat, maybe steeple in the fingers, and find a little movement side to side in the hips. Just a gentle sway, straightening or bending the knees as much as you need to. All right, pause your swaying. Walk the feet back towards center. Halfway lift, inhale. Fold, exhale. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, circle sweep the arms high, palms touch. Take a big standing back bend on the exhale. Squeeze the shoulder blades, press the hips forward. Nice, 2 more breaths here. Open the chest. And then rise on the inhale. Fold on the exhale. Halfway lift. And your vinyasa on the exhale, plant the hand, step it back, and float back. Whatever variations in your practice today. Upward dog on the inhale, downward dog on the exhale. Just a little bit more on the hips, a little more passive. So feet together, inhale, right leg lifts high. Half pigeon on the exhale, right knee behind right hand, right toes behind the left. And then we're going to stay up on our hands for this version. Left leg extends long behind us. If you need a block or a prop or something underneath the hips, go right ahead. And then pressing your fingertips in the mat, try to stay lifted. Maybe finding a little bit of movement here. So you have one more really active pose on each side, followed by a more passive pose. All right, now from our half pigeon pose, hands are just on the outside of my body. Fingertips are pressing down. Now from here, I'm going to bend my back left leg, then move into a non-supported version of a mermaid or a king pigeon. So moving into my own supported back bend with my fingertips, reaching my left toes towards the back of my head. Nice, draw the shoulder blades down. Doesn't matter how deep you get. Lift the gaze, open the chest. Take one more breath. Then bring the gaze forward, release the back foot. And then we'll come down to your elbows, whatever depth feels good for you for the last about 15 seconds or so. And you can still find movement if that feels good. There's 2 more breaths. All right, from here, let's come back up to our hands. Now come to your right hip. Keep your left leg extended long. We're going to move into a Jani Shavasana variation. So as we come down to our hips, keep this left leg long. Right foot slides into the left leg. Arms lift above the head. Square the body over this left leg. As we extend and fold, and finding our way into this nice final hamstring opener on this side. Now you can grab onto whatever feels good for you. If your body's pretty parallel over this right leg, this left leg, start to drop your right shoulder inside. And keep squareness. Maybe the elbows hug in next to this left calf. And take one more breath. Alright, we're going to lift up. Now bringing both hands to the front of the mat. Come back onto the right knee, curl the left toes. We'll take a three-legged dog, right leg lifts high. You can bend the knee, open up, find some movement in the hip. And then the right foot comes back down. Last side here, feet together, inhale, left leg lifts. Then moving into our half pigeon, left knee behind left wrist, left toes behind right wrist. Right leg walks back as best as can for you. And then we're staying up on our hands for the first moments, finding some movement here. Support your body as you need to. Take the version that feels best. This is just a variation. So finding that playfulness in the hips first. All right, then we'll find our supported king pigeon or mermaid pose. So start to press into the hands, draw the chest forward, and maybe bring the gaze up. And then we'll bend the right leg, point the right toes, and try to move into your supported back bend here. Take a few more breaths here. Keep that right hip pushing forward. Reach the right toes towards your back of your head. Lift the chest, one more breath. And then gaze comes forward first as we release that back leg. And then moving into your version of your half pigeon that feels best for you. Now, however deep, however supported, whatever is in your practice, listen to your bodies. You can find that movement again, little swaying action side to side. It's about that 2 breath mark here. All right, then one hand at a time, let's come up to our hands. We're going to drop to our left hip. That's our bent knee hip. Right leg stays extended as we just rock to that right hip. Left foot slides to the inner right thigh. Arms lift above the head on the inhale. And we fold on the exhale. Grabbing to whatever is available to you. Honor your practice. As you start to get a little more parallel with the body over this right leg, and drop your left shoulder to find the squareness in the body as you bend your elbows towards the mat. And we got that 2 breaths. And then slowly rise up. Hands come forward. Shift the body forward, curl the right toes, lift the left leg. Find that movement with the knee, with the hip. Then meeting back in your downward dog. And then we'll make our way onto our knees. It's the hips back towards the heels. Hands to the tops of the thighs. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. One more like that. Big breath in. Exhale. And you're welcome to find your way into a Shavasana from here, laying onto your backs. And if you're moving into Shavasana, take as much time as you need to. If you're continuing on with your day, enjoy your day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Like the video if you like what we're doing here. Subscribe if you're inclined to subscribe. Love your support. Appreciate it as always. Have an amazing day. Namaste.